ngaro na la wato kuma ta bak asira linga da fo ko nyi fawo dinkira
hey elafta maboro la bank kalpo efa igiso SO na yuna jang iba dinkira to kati yuna wallet ibe falindiro ke kan sandiri nyat
ni la yuna wallet to si muna fanno tulo yabo mano kandrin anin fen jama isi sanno la yuna wallet to kono yalla kamo soto ila wallet to kono
alkana la konda no tay ka yuna wallet anatan tolle bukan na balwo fanondi abe sono yaren ko bulu podo ne la mobile scan yo science ise maboro ke wato men diate
ko be sandro ke fangole ba ko ba ke kan dimbalem isi ñun lonko e sandro se yona enterprise wato wati ani la yona wallet to la be lan kamo soto kay la wallet to kono
alina nakafun nanyi yuna dimbayal kan kasandiro ke yuna bitikoto alina kata nyin ko kentat na sulo fon lolu si sandiro kije se maboro fanan keje
moro jundiana nyum ko di mabal ni kadeda
Back to another edition of our show. It's another Thursday and we're back here, of course, to look at interesting stories of the week. And of course, since last week, I think we, the journalists, have been the topic of discussion. If you've been following Kerr Fatou on all other media houses, do you know that the editor-in-chief of Voice newspaper and reporter, journalist Momodou Justice Darboe have been arrested and detained by the police, and they have both been charged for giving false news, whatever. I don't know what exactly it is called.
False information and broadcasting.
False information and broadcasting by the police. This happened because allegedly the report they did on the president's succession plan, the president's lawyers wrote to the Voice newspaper to withdraw their story or also apologize, but if not, they were going to file a lawsuit. We didn't know about the lawsuit. I don't think there have been a lawsuit have been filed, but the police took it upon themselves to arrest and detain and charge both gentlemen, and this has been condemned by all civil society organizations, including the Gambia Press Union, Article 19, CPJ, and other individuals, human rights activists. I've seen politicians also, Honorable Mama Kande, join to condemn the arrest. Yankuba Darboe, chairman of Brikama Area Council. Yesterday, I saw Mayor Talib Bensouda, and of course today the United Democratic Party also did condemn the arrest and the charges. Everyone is calling for the president and the state to drop the charges against these two gentlemen because they were just doing their job. But to discuss this, I have lawyer Lamin J. Darboe. Lamin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Of course, human rights activist, my favorite activist, Madi Jobarteh. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First, let's look at what happened, lawyer Darboe, because if you, last week when this happened, we were here. I think it happened exactly last Thursday. It happened on Wednesday, and Thursday they received the letter. Whilst we were coming on the show, we talked about it. We were like, we didn't know why the police were calling Justice Darboe and Sheriff. But first, we talked about the president's letter to these gentlemen for a story that was fair and balanced. Because if you read the story, the reporter is telling you that a source of them told them this was the plan. But they also reached out to 2 people from the NPP and tried to get their version. And that was also captured in the story. But the president's lawyer wrote to them and asked for them to retract and apologize. First, let's look at that. The president is a public figure. What does the law say about something like this? Was the president has the standing to sue a journalist on something like this?
No, the president has no standing under the Constitution to sue the journalist. Even leaving aside freedom of expression and other things, public interest issues and all that. You leave all of that aside. You can come to the president's immunities under Section 69 of the Constitution. As long as he is president, nobody can sue him for civil or criminal offenses. So you cannot file any process against him as far as he's in office, whether that process is civil or criminal. So there is a corollary to that. If the president cannot be tried, can the president drag anybody to court? That cannot be, because if the president takes you to court, you can counterclaim against him. You have a right to do that. If you counterclaim against the president, as far as the immunity provision of the Constitution is concerned, obviously, his lawyers can raise a preliminary objection, and more than likely the counterclaim would be struck out. If the counterclaim is struck out, then obviously the president should not be able to sue you, because if he sues you, you have the right to counterclaim against him under the rules. But the immunity principle also dictates that the president is not able to drag people to court, because by doing that, he's putting himself before the courts. And that cannot happen. The immunity that he's given as far as he is president for civil and criminal over civil and criminal issues is a constitutional principle. He didn't give it to himself, so he cannot strip himself of it. Even if he says, "Okay, I don't want immunity," you can do. He cannot do that because the courts will not do that. It will lower the reputation and the prestige of the office of President of the Gambia. Now, that office of President stands apart from His Excellency the President as an individual. There are 2 separate entities. He is benefiting from the office. That is, if he is granted immunity, then obviously nobody should be able to drag him to court. Just imagine that. It'll be a field day for journalists.
Of course.
I mean, you have the president in there, you have the defendant there, and then the judge is sitting, trying to determine the case. That is a spectacle that the country cannot afford. Yeah.
So to people who will say, but Yakumba's case, Yakumba went to court against, was it against the president or the state?
Against the National Assembly.
Against
the clerk of the National Assembly.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Attorney General, because if you sue any government organ, you have to join the Attorney General as defendant. If you join the Attorney General, then you are joining everybody, the entire government. So in other words, it is that specific entity, the National Assembly, and even there you are just suing the clerk as the administrative head of the National Assembly, and then the Attorney General as the legal representative of the government. So it is the government. It is not against the president, even though it was the president who who wrote that letter through the Secretary General. But Yakumba's case was a little different. That was a constitutional case. The principles there are whether the president can fire a National Assembly member, or by extension, that was not discussed in the case, but a judge of the superior courts. The principle now is certain. The president cannot do either. You cannot fire the judges, you cannot fire members of the National Assembly, even if you are the one who nominated that National Assembly member. You cannot fire her.
So the president in his capacity as president of the republic cannot sue anybody. But as the party leader of the National People's Party, does that make him a different person? Even though he's the president, but he's also the Secretary General of a political party.
No, he cannot. As long as he remains president, the constitutional provision is clear. Now, whether you are a party leader or whatever, you cannot do it. Okay. In fact, he cannot sue in his capacity as president or as the Secretary General of the party. He has to sue. If they want to sue at all, they have to do it in the name of the NPP as a separate entity, which is not the president.
Was it a mere threat, though? Because if the president cannot, in any way, according to our law, sue anybody, why do you think the president's attorneys will write such a letter threatening to sue a media? Was it a threat, and how would that translate? I'll have to come to Madi. It means it's just a threat. Because if he has no standing to sue anybody, that is indirectly a threat, kind of.
It could be, but there is the other possibility that it was a knee-jerk reaction. You didn't think about the constitutional principles at play here. Yes, that is it's a nuanced position. It didn't say the president cannot sue anybody. Okay. The provision said nobody can take the president to court, whether civil or criminal. So if it is said that you cannot sue the president cannot sue anybody, then there will be no error. But in this case, I can see how somebody can misunderstand the provision. I don't know what happened, but I don't think the president should be engaged in issuing idle threats. That also diminishes the office of president. Yes.
Madi, if the president has no standing to sue anybody, because we cannot sue him, I mean, he has said so many things to my institution. Of course, he called you Malala.
That is arsonist.
Yeah, that is
a national arsonist.
Yeah, and he said it on the biggest platform. Yeah. But you know you could not sue the president because he's the president of the republic, even though that was very bad. Comments. Now, if we cannot sue him indirectly, he cannot sue us. Now, if the president writes to a media outlet and threatens to sue them, because how do you look at it when it comes to freedom of expression, context?
Yeah, so I thank, our learned person here. I mean, lawyers, they are the learned people, and for that enlightenment. And precisely because of that, I remember in 2022 when he said, I want to burn down the country. Yeah. I just said to myself, that's defamation, character assassination. I mean, that is a threat against me. Ordinarily, I would take ordinary person to court, but I simply cannot because, as Mr. Darboe just said, the protection that the immunity he has in the Constitution, and I'm hoping and praying one day we will remove all these immunities, because personally I don't think there should be such immunities for any public official, including the president, in a republic. So to say, working from the perspective of human rights, from freedom of expression, in terms of you know, the political space.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's a threat. You know, it's a threat, and a threat that demonstrates a lack of regard for the Constitution, for one's oath of office,
Yeah.
but also a disregard of democratic values. You know, so that we know, for journalists, for activists, and you know, people who work to ensure there is transparency and accountability in society, people in power are notorious of issuing those kind of threats. So you know, and threats come from different ways.
Yeah.
It can be labeling. They just label you an arsonist, as an anti this or that, as someone who wants to destroy our culture or our society. So that is mischaracterization, yeah, to demonize you in order to alienate you. So people in power have used that, you know, against others that, you know, they who oppose them, whether individuals or groups. But also we've seen people in power arbitrarily say arrest, so that there is no legal basis, really. There's no justification for such action. But arbitrarily, they arrest journalists, they arrest, you know, human rights defenders, and you know, others, political opponents, and so on, or any individual. So it's a threat that happens, and those threats can, you know, move on to higher levels, to enforce disappearances, to summary executions. We see Ajame did all of those things here. So for me, this is the context I'm looking at it. And this is the very reason why we have never again as an agenda, you know, since 2017, that such actions by people in power was what we had, such arbitrary actions, abusing their powers, you know, misusing public resources just to threaten, to intimidate, you know, people who disagree with you, criticize you, you classify, categorize them in a way to alienate them, to isolate them, to demonize them in the eyes of the public, and so on. So this is nothing new, not in the Gambia at all, I mean, across the world. So that even if you look at things like, say, even genocide, I mean, when you look at it, the very beginning of it, before the actual, say, genocide or killing happened, you will see demonization, dehumanization, so that, you know, the Nazis have called Jews names, you know, in those days, crocodiles, I mean, cockroaches and things like that. In Rwanda, they have called the Tutsis the long trees, you know, vermins and stuff like that. Why? Because you want to give a certain, you know, picture, a certain kind of color to, you know, this person or these people, so that you justify whatever action you're going to do. So these threats, therefore, can take this form as well, to subject them to threaten them with a court action, when in fact there's no basis for it. But I mean, simply because you are in power, you are powerful, I mean, so that you come apologize, retract. If you don't, I will take you to court. And so what can a small newspaper, newspapers in this country are basically struggling, especially a newspaper like The Voice, what, you know, resources do they have to want to go to court to fight that kind of a matter? In the end, you know, you may force them to retract, to apologize, and then to refrain from any reporting of the president, of the government, and which would be, as I said, a fundamental violation, because the Constitution has given a constitutional duty to the media to hold the government accountable on behalf of the people. So threats like this, therefore, you are making the media, not just The Voice, but all other media houses now may be watching. If
self-censorship.
Yeah, self-censorship comes, and then therefore they are limited in the way now they will critique, they will shed light on the president, the words and actions and decisions, or the lack of them of the president. So, so this is a serious threat. And as I said, given the never again mantra where we came from, I'm disappointed that the president and all his advisors, I'm sure he has legal advisors like, people like, Mr. Darboe here, should have advised him exactly like he said, but even without that, to realize on his own that this country, we should pass that stage. Yes, we should pass the stage for people in power to use their positions or their power, their influence to therefore determine how they are perceived or reported on, especially by the media in this country. And as we said, especially what makes it even more ridiculous is the reporting is fair and balanced. So clearly, what is the point? But I would say it is a threat, and a very serious threat that goes beyond the Voice newspaper, but it's a threat to the entire media community of the Gambia, because what it does, like you said, the self-censorship, the fact that this thing is there, one is tempted to check your steps, even if you think it is, legitimate public interest to report.
Yeah. And I think it brings to mind, because we went through this, Kerr Fatou, and sometimes you yourself, you look at things and you're like, I need to be a little extra cautious. For example, and when I was talking to Sheriff about this, the first thing that comes to your mind is your business. Because when the president is suing you, when the president says something to you about you, I remember exactly when Mustafa wrote a story about OJ, the former Minister of Agriculture, and we published it. I was working with a certain bank on a certain thing. It was like a done deal. The morning that we were supposed to get that facility was the same day the story came out. I got a call from my account manager and he says, we're not doing this. And they started asking for certain other things. This is the mindset of our people. Hey, even sponsors, because as a business, you cannot function without sponsors and all these big partners. So sometimes it's not just about taking you to jail. It's about making people scared of you. It's about strangling you financially. Because some people will just look at you, and no, I don't want to work with them because they are not in good terms with government. We are working with government. Some people, sponsors will tell you this, you have to tone down because like people tell us this. So this is sometimes, I look at it as, this is the tactics sometimes. It's not just about taking you to jail, it's about strangling you. At some point, telling people, we don't flex with this person, don't deal with them indirectly. It's like sending those messages. And that is the most dangerous thing that we have seen is happening now in this country.
Yeah. And historically, when you go back, I'm sure Mr. Darboe would remember Sanamane, Tix Mane, who was in those times also the investigative journalists, of front down there, Tix, and ran stories about corruption in the government, accused ministers. But that is the job of the media house. So if government, you feel, you can respond to it. But what they did at the time was to send him, to sue him. They took the matter to court, about 3 ministers. And it went to court for a while, about a year. It was going, things were going. And what it does is it consumes your resources, as is, small, media houses here are not rich, so to speak. So that at the end of the day, was in 1988, I think. At the end of the day, even though the court did not find him, I don't know how the legal terms you use, liable or culpable or so, was freed, but the cost of it and all of the things around there were so much that his newspaper, the Torch, I think it was the Torch, ended up dying. It ended up dying. So that is the impact. That's the implication when you have these kind of things, and we can have this kind of trend, which is really getting too many now. As we speak right now, a minister had threatened Al-Kamba Times, journalists for the same thing. Of course, you mentioned your case, and even myself sitting here, a former lands minister has threatened to take me to court. And if you handle public office, you manage public resources, we should look at you. We should check you. Yes. And citizens have a right to have an opinion as to how their public institutions and public officials are performing or not performing. And as you would be very happy if they say you are performing very well, also receive it well when we say you are not performing. Yes, if we say you are a very honest public servant, as you are happy with that also, when we say you are a very corrupt public servant, also receive that. Yes, and prove to us how you are not corrupt. Otherwise, get out of public office. Yes, I mean, you are not doing anyone a favor. And, you know, I say this all the time, public officials, lives are in your hands. What public officials do, the decisions they take, the way they manage our public resources and institutions, you know, they either make, you know, save a life or take a life. Literally, that is what it is. They create opportunities that would, you know, uplift a life, build a future of someone, or deny someone completely. Why do you think all these governments are dying in the high seas? Well, you know, really, I mean, we're dying in the backyard, yes, because, and those opportunities, where should they come from? All right, the government, the state, because people are paying tax to you. Yes, people are paying tax to you in the people's name. Those people who have died in the Sahara Desert, in the Mediterranean, in their name. This loan that the finance minister said our debt is 110 billion. It's part of their name also are there. Yes, so those loans, those grants that they receive in our name is for all citizens to create the enabling environment. We have the right opportunities. So literally, the lack of those opportunities, which is caused by the government, you are making people die. People go to Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. Preventable, you know, diseases that should not kill them, kills them. Yes, even today I see GoFundMe governments going to seeking help for some procedure that they cannot do here. They have to go to India or to Turkey or to somewhere else out of this country. But the taxes people pay, the resources, the loans and grants we receive, government should put it in Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, in Faroto Health Center, in Mansakongo Health Center, in, you know, Saraboja Health Center, and so on. Now, you don't do that, all right? But you have the audacity to go and buy a $12 million vehicle, all right? I mean, just to travel from Brusubi to Banjul to go to work. I mean, just like that. And the whole year, what you produce is not up to 12 million. So what you are consuming is more than what you are producing. So when all of that is put together, Fatou, who are you in public office to say that citizens or journalists should not criticize you, should not, you know, I mean, have opinion about you? Let that opinion be right or wrong. But simply because you sit in public office, you handle their public affairs. There you handle public resources. And in the way and manner you handle that, you can make somebody survive or somebody die. You can make somebody get education or no education. You can make somebody get good health care or die in sickness. So I am really concerned about this matter. And, you know, what I expected from this president, from this government, is to learn from the past and take steps that will strengthen democracy in this country, that will strengthen good governance in this country, which means, you know, to see how do they judiciously manage the public resources of this country to create the necessary opportunities, you know, and I mean, services, facilities to enable people to obtain the high standard of living. No, that is not the case. And now if you can threaten journalists with court action, and in fact we are talking about court action, and overzealous IGP went ahead to even arrest them. I mean, on what basis? And now you put some charge on what basis?
And it looks like the investigation is taking another twist. I'll come to that because from investigating a story, now following Sheriff on his nationality. We'll come to that, you know, we'll come to that, but I'll come to Darboe. The president's lawyers say if the Voice does not apologize in 24 hours, they will sue. We haven't seen that yet. It's over, it's a week today since they wrote that letter. So we haven't seen that. So they have not followed through what they said, to sue after 24 hours if they have not retracted or apologized. They have not sued. As we know, they have not sued yet because the defendants have not received anything yet. So that means they have not sued, because I spoke to them before I came. But the IGP arrested and detained both of them. Justice was detained for over 40 hours and was bailed with government security 25,000. Sharif was also detained, he was detained, and now they go going back and forth every single day. Before coming to the show, I spoke to Sharif. They just left the police station. I said this on my platform. I'm not a legal person, but I said this is ridiculous. IGP has no business in this. The president, whether he is legal or not, he felt he was wrong. He wanted to sue. Now, for me, I said, okay, if that's what he wants to do, without hearing from you, I said, okay, at least it's the two people, taking each other. Like, if I have something, a beef with you, I can take you to court. But what is the IGP's business in this? He said, if this is causing public harm. How is a story that is suggesting that the president has succession plan causing public harm? Like, am I wrong? Is that not what they said? How, you are the lawyers, help me. How is this anywhere close to a criminal case?
It's not a criminal case. They know it. If it is a criminal case, they probably would have laid the complaint before the court. I've not seen the charge sheet. I don't know whether they were charged or not, but I guess the police said they were charged.
The police said it themselves on their Facebook page. They said they charged them.
But why are they not taking it to court then?
Well, that's the
take the matter to court and let the courts deal with it.
Yeah.
But I think the idea that serious officers of state, like Inspector General of Police, should be answerable to the president is a thing that is causing all of these problems.
Yeah.
Yes. Ordinarily, we know that under democratic principles, somebody has to control them, the office. Maybe independent agencies, but if you subject them to political control.
I want to clarify, it says public alarm, not public harm. They said it's causing public harm.
It's the same, that is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to be charged though. I'm just, because this day and age, that's the thing. But,
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, that was said. I heard that was said. I heard also from other sources, not directly from the police, that this is a national security matter.
Yeah.
I said, do people understand what is national security? National security is really far, far more important than the affairs of only one person. I know, say for example, the president's affairs can be national security. They can trigger national security issues. But this particular story is just a party story. Yes, it has nothing to do with the government. It has nothing to do with the state. So how the IGP came to this decision to invite them, not only to invite them, but to then arrest them. Because once somebody sets foot in the police station, they've been arrested. They are not under their own wherewithal. They cannot leave that police station unless you said, you are free now, you can go. So they are arrested. You are confined to one place against your will. So you are arrested and detained. Yes. Because otherwise, why would you require somebody to come and bail them? If they are not arrested, if they are not under detention. If they are not bailed, then they don't leave the police station. Yeah. But the way I'm looking at it is our public institutions and the holders of those public institutions need to know, it's not ancient history. This is contemporary affairs. We've witnessed what happened in this country 5, 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. So you learn from these things and protect yourself and protect the country. Yeah. Don't think about your job alone. I know that is very important because from, having these sumptuous breakfasts and lunches and everything, and then you can buy a cup of sugar for yourself. It's obviously
the reason why we should have reforms, especially in appointing heads of institutions like the IGP's office, because we need the IGP's office to be so independent, because you're dealing with everybody. If we can guarantee an IGP to say the president cannot fire you, when you are properly vetted and approved by the National Assembly, you know that your contract is, let's say, 2 terms or 5 years or 1 term, whatever it is, you know that no one can fire you. At least you will do right by the people, just instead of thinking about your job, because job security matters to a lot of people.
Yes.
Because if you know that if I do this, I'm pleasing the president, you are going to do that. Sometimes maybe the president doesn't even know these things are happening. I'm just being, I'm just putting out. It might be possible that the president doesn't even know, or he didn't tell anybody to do this. But sometimes people are thinking about their jobs. They want to please people, or they feel like I just need to do this to secure my job. Why don't we have strong institutions where the people holding this office are not looking at the man that puts me there, but they're looking, knowing that they are guaranteed for this specific number of times. By that time, everybody can have justice when they go through that office. Because I have said this several times. The truth of the matter is, I don't remember seeing any NPP supporter being arrested for saying stuff on social media or attacking people. And I have seen a lot of them. They attack public people. Madi and myself are constantly attacked about, for certain things, for people that are on the president's side of the coin, or they are attacking Mama Kande or the political leaders. But you have never seen the police coming and attack those people or, arrest them. But when other people on the opposition say stuff about the president's camp, you see them being questioned. And I've said this here several times. People like me, if we don't speak about this, nobody's going to speak about it. And this is the truth. The IGP should not differentiate who is yellow or green or blue. The IGP's office should be independent. But the reason why it is creating doubts in our minds is because the way they're operating right now. If you support the president, I said the other time, I asked question, what is it? Is it immunity to support the president? You have immunity when you support the president. Maybe we should all go support the president openly. That way we will not be questioned about these things. And sometimes that is very frightening. That is very scary. People will not speak because they feel like, but if the office of the IGP is independent, they know their office is independent, their job is guaranteed, they don't have to worry being fired or stuff like that, because they went through that rigorous vetting process. At the end of the day, at least they will do justice by the people. What do you think about that?
Yes, if there is job security.
Yes.
Definitely. But we have a serious problem in the country, and that is the problem of partisanship.
Yeah.
Now, partisanship cuts across the board. Mm-hmm. You don't see anything wrong with your side, whatever that side is.
Yeah.
As long as you are committed to that side. It can be political, it can be other things. Yes. So, what serious people would run their public affairs like that?
Yeah.
Yes. As long as it concerns you and the side you support, mm-hmm. Yes. You don't see anything wrong with what is done to other people. That is the partisanship I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because if we are talking about independent institutions, I'm telling you, I just said, the National Assembly is immune from presidential control. They cannot do anything to any National Assembly member. Yes. Yakumba lost the elections. That was the only reason she left. Yeah. But she was sent back to the National Assembly by the Supreme Court. The president respected that. Mm-hmm. So, other National Assembly members may be thinking about the future, but that is not job security. That is your conscience, it's your character.
Yeah.
It's just the type of person you are. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that when your livelihood is on the line, it's extremely difficult.
It is.
I have to accept that as an argument, even though some people would say, and again I respect that position, that it is no reason to then go after innocent people and wrong them in the name of somebody who you believe can benefit you economically, financially, and in other ways. It all comes back to the fact that our public life is not a serious space at all. Yeah. Yes. People see value in you only when you support them, even when their position is wrong. Yeah. What kind of people will do that? Yeah. Yeah.
Madi, by the time Justice and Sheriff were detained, the president was at the UN, and something that really struck me was when the speech said the president, this government has never detained or any
Jailed. There is the word jailed.
Jailed any activists or journalists or
political prisoners.
Political prisoners. I don't know what's the definition of jailed in the U.S. If you are detained at the police station, that you are in jail. I don't know whether it's the same as here. The time this speech was being read, Justice Darboe was in the cells. Sheriff was sitting behind the counter. That was jail because he didn't have liberty. So I don't know, the lawyers will tell us what is jail, what is not jail. Being at the police station, is that jail?
No, we will not deal with the semantics here. It's not important.
Yeah.
You know, Madi was jailed there.
Yeah.
He was kept there, let's say.
Yeah.
Under detention without the ability to leave unless he was told to. Dr. Cisse was. Momodou Sabali was. Bora was.
Silpo Bayosongo was.
Yes. So obviously for me, it was, seizing somebody's liberty. They shouldn't be happening. Those are serious matters. You cannot detain people under the authority of the state, using the police power and using it wrongfully. The police power is the power of the state, using the power of the state to detain people for no reason. Those kinds of things cannot happen. This is not about the people who are detained. We are not doing it for them. We are doing it for all of us.
Ourselves.
These things can happen to anybody.
We are speaking every day.
Yes. Yeah, a prominent priest in Nazi Germany, that was what he said. That when the Jews were been punished, nobody cared or people didn't care because they were not Jews. They came after the trade unionists. They came after the communists. And by the time they came for the last person, there was nobody to stand up for anybody else. This is a historical fact. It was what happened in Nazi Germany. It did happen. And of course, it happened in other parts of the world as well. Governments operate normal systems and abnormal systems. You can have underground governments as well. Underground systems that are more powerful than what we are looking at in the public space. People who can come and take you and detain you, and nobody would know where you are. Under the permission, the authorization of the state. Yes. Now, if you are kidnapped and killed or disappeared, not by the state, by criminal elements, we can understand that. But if state agents seize you from your home and you are not heard from for a very long time, that is unacceptable. Yes. So that is the situation.
Madi, the statement said nobody was jailed since this government came.
Yeah. Well, I remember flagging that out on my, Facebook account, and of course, Managan also did a fact check.
Yes.
So, in one sense, ask yourself, why did they say that? In another sense, I thought they were also wanted to play with the minds of probably the world body over there and maybe rest of humanity, so that they say jailed, and so that in their minds maybe they take jail to be somebody arrested, prosecuted in a normal way, fully arrested, prosecuted, and
3 years jail was even sent to
yeah.
too.
So when you look at international human rights organizations like Amnesty International, but even the UN Human Rights Body, High Commission for Human Rights, and so on, they define a political prisoner, someone who has been detained merely for exercising his or her political rights. So that in the case of what happened to Dr. Ismaila Ceesay in 2018, or Momodou Sabally or Baye Sonko, they were political prisoners. So you don't have to be taken to court. It's just a mere fact of being detained, at the shortest possible time, or within the shortest possible time, just for merely expressing or exercising your political rights. So that there are prisoners of conscience as well. People who are journalists or activists or others who, in pursuit of human rights, in promoting human rights or doing their job as political prisoners, being detained, all right, put in custody for any length of time, just purely because of the work they do. They are called prisoners of conscience. I mean, this is how, in fact, Amnesty International emerged as a human rights, but it started as a prisoner of conscience organization seeking to free prisoners of conscience or therefore protect, and they could be lawyers, they could be people who are not politicians. Political prisoners may refer to largely politicians. And we've had famous prisoners of conscience and political prisoners. Nelson Mandela was a prisoner of conscience, for example. Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma was a prisoner of political prisoner, and also considered a prisoner of conscience, given her academician stature and so on. So we have a lot of political prisoners and prisoners of conscience in this country from 2017 to date. All right, and we've got a lot of political opponents, journalists, human rights defenders, and many ordinary citizens being persecuted for their political views, for their political participation. When you just mentioned 3 years Jotna, for example. What Musa Sharif and Momodou Justice Darboe are facing right now is persecution. All right, and so I think that was a misinformation or a disinformation that the president was perpetuating, in front of the global, world body, and it is really concerning. Because who are you competing with? Who are you fighting for? So that, Mr. Darboe mentioned why we have this partisanship and all of that. Yeah. And as he was talking, I was trying to really reflect. And truly, there is a lot of partisanship here. It is. But then one needs to ask the question, really, if you are elected president, do you sit down to try to understand what is the meaning of being elected president? What is the meaning of holding the position of the president? What do you understand that to mean? So that you begin to determine how you should conduct yourself, how you should lead, and what all these issues mean that are circulating around you. Because we've had presidents who have been directly insulted, and they said no. John Atta Mills in Ghana was directly insulted by an opposition person. The police arrested him, he told them to leave him. That comes with the job. Obama was speaking in the State of the Nation Union address in the US. A congressman got up and said, "You lie." I mean, he didn't cringe or do anything. He continued with his speech, and he didn't ever come back to even talk about that. Instead, that person is the Republican Party members themselves who came to rebuke the guy. So that, there's a level of wisdom you have, there's a level of maturity you have as a leader, that you come to realize this is too low for me. Yes, and at the end of the day, what I'm seeking to achieve, it is not merely for the citizens alone but it is for myself. It's for some higher ideals that I stand for. So we need to question our leaders, whether it's the president or political party leaders, but leaders across, religious leaders, traditional leaders. How do you understand the leadership position that you hold, so that you demonstrate attitudes, behaviors, and actions, decisions that reflect that indeed you understand what is leadership, what is to be out of the lot to be put in front of your people. For people, 2 million Gambians, you are picked to be their leader. And not that they even went to beg you in your house, come and lead us. You yourself got up to go and seek their mandate. And you convinced them to vote for you. So, does that make you humble? Does that make you realize you owe them a gratitude, you owe them honesty, you owe them your best, that even your best is not enough. Even if you do your best, it is still not enough to repay them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are issues we need to discuss, because imagine bringing ridicule to your country, and you are not just some ordinary guy selling, granite at the street corner. You are the president. Look at what is happening these past few days. Everybody, international news, international statements from everywhere, and and I also made the point. Look, African leaders, African governments, why do you discredit us? Why do you ridicule us? That Africa is a basket case. In Africa, you mention the name of the president, you can be jailed for it. I mean, and you're going to them other democracies. I mean, nobody, I don't know, is insulting Keir Starmer, or they're insulting Keir Starmer. But he's still there. He's not like going after anyone, so to speak. And so that these democracies, even if you don't, I mean, I'm not a fan of the West or America, or so to speak, but you are bound to admire the leadership that they provide for their people, and for which we have, I mean, and I read, I think it's Mayor Talib Bensouda, and I read his statement, and it is deep.
It's deep.
It's deep.
Very
like,
deep.
What should be concerning the president? If, Barrow should have been saying, these people, I don't have the time. Let them say anything. I'm dealing with the back way. I'm dealing with, these roads. I'm dealing with electricity. I mean, I'm going to pick up lawyers to go after government contracts that were given wrongly. Government people who are stealing Gambian people's money. I'm going to take lawyers to go after them. I'm going to tell my Attorney General, go and prosecute those people mentioned in the Attorney General's report. I mean, this is what concerns me. This is what you think the president will be thinking about. I mean, but you want to hold a whole nation at ransom for something that, at the end of the day, you have a right to suggest anybody to be your successor. Yes. And interestingly, the successor himself, or the so-called successor, or the potential successor, did not complain.
No.
Why are you complaining? So I think, when he talked about this partisanship, I said, yes, we will be parties. Because that's also the nature of democracy. We will belong to different parties, but even outside of culturally, religiously, we belong to different parties. But is that a basis for intolerance, for hatred, for abuse, and so on? And it's mind-boggling,
And you said something, and I remember when Donald Trump was president. Sometimes what we go through in our societies impact us even when we are not here. When Donald Trump was president, I'm not a fan of Trump, and I think everybody knows this. I tweet at Trump every single place. There's nothing that I don't call him. There's no name I don't call. At some point, when I'm getting into the U.S., I deactivate my Twitter because I'm thinking maybe at the immigration they will. This was they will, you know, it's because of the mindset that I'm raised in. Yeah. I'm thinking, hey, they coming before Trump, the airport. That time I was even agree. I was like, in Republican or you know, they check and see all the things you are saying to the president. It's because of the mindset. Yeah. But meanwhile, that doesn't even, you can say anything and get away with that. Yeah. But you said the Talib's statement is deep. The Fourier editorial was the top of all of these reactions. They said the president should focus on issues of the day, like our import cover to 51 billion import cover. They talked about our debt. They talked about all the things that we are facing as a country as we speak. I think it's just last week that the police announced that the license will be available. We don't have ID cards. As a country, we cannot even produce ID cards. For how many months? All you do, pay and get your receipt for a license. We don't even have license. You can receipt or you call a dealer as a country. We cannot even have an ID card as we speak up to now. I don't remember, I haven't seen any press statement. These are things that have electricity. We cannot. I know before the end of this show, maybe it will go. That's what we're facing right now, as we speak. Now we're owing like 10 billion CFA and other things. Our debt is gone hundreds of millions. Yeah. Our foreign exchange, our country is depreciating against all major currencies. Inflation, they said, is high, but our food prices is still going high, it's not going down. So all of these things that we're facing as a country, and Western Gambia will tell you all these corruption cases that are happening at the ports and other institutions they are reporting, nobody's investigating them. The police, we haven't heard anywhere they are calling these people. But yet still you are making journalists go to the police station every single day. Yeah. Today, Justice Darboe and Sheriff were at the police station. They will be going tomorrow, and they will be going day after tomorrow. You still could not present them at the judge to a magistrate. Today I saw, we have a case at the Brikama Magistrate Court. We went there, we were told the magistrate has resigned. She's not working there anymore. Now, we don't know when is the case coming. There's only one magistrate right now at the Brikama Magistrate Courts. All of these things that we're facing as a country, nobody is focused on these issues, but we're focused on arresting journalists for writing speculative stories. And it tells us what is our mindset as a country. What are we focused on? What is important to us as a country? And this is very concerning for a lot of people. People don't care who becomes, the NPP candidate next year. What we want is how to put food on the table. And if this is the way we go, how do we fix our country going forward?
Seriously. Well, again, I think Darboe spoke to briefly about institutions. And yes, we need strong institutions. And that's a cliche we used to say, institutions. And it is to say institutions don't build themselves. And, you had this exchange with him, let's say the IGP, the Gambia Police Force, having a position of IGP. Now, you as IGP, what is your understanding of your role as IGP, of the function of the police as an institution? How do we strengthen this institution to perform the functions that it should do by law? Now, the police, whether it's NAWEC or it's GAMTEL or ports or Ministry of Education, every one of these public institutions, they need to ask themselves that fundamental question. Because as we speak now, I don't see any public institution that is delivering, even a quarter of their mandate effectively and efficiently from A to Z. And there is corruption, there is inefficiency, there is wastage. Now, and then of course there is the abuse, like the IG is doing right now to these journalists. So how do we build these institutions? And I think, it's everywhere. It's like everywhere. If we want to build institutions, we have to have values. Yes, we have to have values. Now, you talked about, your job. People need a job. Of course, people need to hold on to their positions. But we all can hold on to our positions still upholding sacred principles, sacred values of honesty, of responsibility, of commitment, of dedication, all right, of justice, of integrity. We can. And so, because this, when I say these things, it makes me say, okay, maybe we need a whole new society, all right, because, I mean, I don't know, but we have to uphold values, first and foremost, and that includes upholding political will, having the political will and commitment. Because I give this example to people, same America, Mike Pence was vice president and head of the Senate. They came to confirm the elections, and Trump, and his people are out there trying to tell him to reject the process, so that they cancel the elections. But Mike Pence, even though it is his government and he's the second in charge, all right, stood his ground that in this Senate, I will make sure the democratic process, the legal process takes course, unfettered. So even when, Trump invaded and his thugs and, fools invaded the Congress, they made sure it happened. Now, I said, rewind back to 2016 in our National Assembly. The speaker was Abdoulaye Bojang, the majority leader was Fabakary Tombong Jatta, put a petition, a motion on the floor of the parliament to extend the life of the parliament and the life of the presidency, effectively destroying our vote. Now, this is the demonstration of values, the presence of values and the lack of values. And we can say everything against, because it's typical, we like to say white people this and that. But one thing you can also say, they get to that point to say, look, we will stand on values, we will stand on the rule of law, we will stand for our national interests. Look at Boris Johnson and the COVID scandal. At the end of the day, his own party members made sure he faced the consequences for allowing parties in his prime minister's office. When the COVID, they told everyone, no gatherings. You are celebrating a birthday, in your office. And they kick him out. And until each and every Gambian, and particularly those who hold public office, who lead public institutions, like the IG, like the Attorney General. We have an Attorney General in this country. Why is the Attorney General sitting down, not dealing with these corruption cases that, in fact, some of them coming from his office? The legal advice they got about the security port, for example, and many of the contracts is that it is wrong. It is illegal. If it happens, prosecute people. That's what the Attorney General is for. Tell your director of public prosecution, do this, prosecute this. But you sit there, how do you think we will build a strong Ministry of Justice? How are we going to build a strong National Assembly? How are we going to build a strong police force that is abiding by the rule of law, the principles, the values, the standards set in our Constitution, and international best practices? This is not rocket science. And that is the point we have to talk to make sure public institutions, those who work there, uphold those values. And those values are found in the laws that set up those public institutions and in our Constitution. And they sit there, and we are sitting here. Electricity goes on and off as what? 50, 60 years of independence? I think the people need to begin to speak directly to these public officials. For me, they have turned public office into a scam, into a fraud. I have been saying that since independence, our public office is a fraud, all right? That is, they have managed to set up a state in which those who work in that state benefit from public resources beyond and above what is ethical, what is legal, what is justifiable, and at the detriment of the majority of Gambians. Because how can you justify buying one vehicle $12 million? Why can't we give pickup trucks to every minister, every, director who needs to get a vehicle? Most of them don't even need a vehicle. In a ministry, why should every director, every manager have a vehicle? Why?
And utility cars also.
Yeah, why? Why should everyone have an official vehicle? Find your way to go to work. Those who need to go to the field, let them get a pickup truck, a minivan to go to work and come back. We are paying you a salary and all the necessary allowance. Why should we give the director a vehicle? Official vehicle? Why should we give a manager an official vehicle? Why should we give everyone, a minister, more than one vehicle? But you had the audacity to go and buy a $12 million vehicle, a $3 million vehicle. Because I need to go to work. I mean, that work you do, what do you produce? What really, and I think that is where we need to move to monetize the performance of a National Assembly member, for example. They've been given a Prado, which is 12. Let's monetize at the end of the day, Monday to Friday, January to December, all your functions in the National Assembly, all the things you, when we monetize it, how much is that in monetary terms? How many thousands of dollars is that? And see whether that will amount to more than 3 million. Because at the end of the day, the oversight function you should do. We look at the public institutions, we look at public service, we look at control of public funds. It's in shambles. So at the end of the day, what is the value of your oversight? What is the value?
That is the value, and I think that is important. But it brings me to a whole new topic, the importance of public institutions. I remember the other day we were talking about this, when we were talking about the Constitution, you were talking about how, we should have strong institutions instead of just strong men. But that is not where we are today. And our law is not even strengthening that also. I don't know how. The fact of the matter is, in this day and age, just like you said, a lot of us are thinking about job security. Like he said, when the U.S., when Trump, January 6th, Trump went to court, I think, over 100 times. Most of the judges that handled those cases were Trump appointees. Most of them were Republicans. But at that point, they saw country, and that was important to them. Even the Supreme Court, that he had 3 judges there, they ruled against him when it came to the election. Yes, sometimes they ruled alongside with him on other issues, but when it came to the elections, they looked at country. And people like Liz Cheney and others, Mike Pence, who was going to benefit if Trump went back to power, said, no, I'm choosing country over Trump. And he did the right thing. But we hardly see that in our country. What do we need to do to build strong institutions, to have people believe in institutions more than just believe in an individual? Or look at Senegal, what is happening today. These people who are singing Macky Sall, telling him, today they have left him. They have gone to create other coalitions elsewhere, and they're going on media platforms saying things about Macky. And I'm thinking, is this not the person that was speaking for Macky 3-4 months ago?
No, but what they are saying now is the truth, and they've known that truth a long time ago.
Why didn't they say this before?
But picking up from where Madi left, the Mike Pence, that was quite instructive. And I can come to the UK. Robin Cook, on the eve of the Blair attacks on Iraq, he was one of the most prominent people in the Blair cabinet, but he had to leave. Yeah, I even wrote an article about that. I mean, for him, there was no justification in the war. You had to break ranks with your government. You couldn't do anything about it. But those are the value systems. But in this country, Fatou, the fact of the matter is people don't believe in anything other than what I can get out of a particular situation. Now, about strong institutions, they are difficult to create. And only one person can create and maintain them. And then we build it. And that is the president. Yes. This is not about individuals.
Yeah.
You enforce this from the very top. If it is rotten at the top, then it will not happen. And like he said, from independence, we had this problem of governance. Look, to be nice is one thing, but to ensure that values are enshrined in the public space of a country, that is the biggest achievement. Yes, that's what I keep telling the president. We will not remember you for your physical structures. They're not important. We'll remember you for the beauty of governance that you leave behind, governance under the rule of law. If we cannot achieve it, we are just going through these motions, president after president after president, but nothing will happen. Yeah. Yes. If you want a legacy, and everybody says, my legacy. If you want a legacy, you are going to give us institutions, and you are going to ensure accountability. Now, you know the problem with accountability, of course. It has to start with whoever is building those institutions. Yes. No sacred cows, not your family, not your friends, not your cabinet ministers.
The presidency is a huge responsibility.
No, it's
all these things you're saying, it starts from there.
Yeah, everything starts from there.
Absolutely.
If you read from Third World to First World by Lee Kuan Yew, the independence prime minister of Singapore, that was what he said.
Yeah.
He said there are times when you have to look at your own supporters and take difficult decisions against them. One of his closest people, a member of the cabinet, got involved in this corruption very early in the government, but we said the family members, the wife and other people would come to him, but he stood his ground. I wouldn't do anything personally, but the law will take its course. If he's vindicated by the courts, then that's fine. If he's found responsible by the courts, that too is fine. This is how Singapore leapfrogged in front of the African countries. We got independence in the same decade with Singapore. Yeah. So, but look at that country today and compare it with countries that had huge resources, countries like Nigeria. Yeah. Singapore is like an economic giant in the presence of Nigeria. You know, that is a big anomaly. Yes, that is a terrible anomaly. Singapore is so organized that even segments of the UK government system, like for example, the local government authority in London, when they were thinking about their congestion system, they had to go to Singapore to study it. You know, that is quite, and that's quite huge for a country like Singapore. Remember, Singapore was colonized by the British, and now they went back there to learn some things from them. You see, at the end of the day, no one is better than anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a question of who has institutions to control everybody. Now, I mean everybody, from the presidency right down. People are not stupid. Yeah, I believe all the people who occupied our state house from the early 60s through independence up to today can differentiate between right and wrong. Yeah. Yes, all of them can do that. Where we are lacking is the ability to set up systems and maintain them. Yes, that would require ignoring friendships.
Why are we not able to do it? Because I remember the president was so...
Yeah,
let me speak.
Yeah, build on that. further, because when he started the conversation, Singapore just clicked on my mind, and then of course he came to it, and that story needs to be told, because Singapore gained their independence in 1965.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, September or August 1965. All right. So if the Gambia's independence, so we are even older than Singapore, right? And a tiny country, you know, locked in between major countries, China, Malaysia, and, you know, Thailand, India. So it is little country down there, largely water and mangroves. All right. But as you said, leadership at the top. This thing has to be done at the top. And this first Singapore president talked about Lee Kuan Yew. I remember at the time, and, you know, if you look at reports, you'll hear a lot of human rights, you know, reports, complaints about him as well, because you know, you come to work late, you can get strokes on your hand for coming to work late. You drop a piece of paper on the street work, you can get some strokes, you know, by the police, you know, and so on. And he defended himself to say there's a certain culture. We need to change the culture. And, you know, for him, it has to be in that hard way. And, you know, but today, I mean, he's left a legacy in Singapore. Singapore city is not just one of the most cleanest countries, I mean, cities in the world. But the Singapore economy, Singapore ports, Singapore airlines, Singapore, you know, universities, Singapore businesses, you know, Singapore economy is among the top 5 in the world. And this man, and I would have expected in 2017 that to be the approach of Barrow, to say, look, given everything from 1965 to date in this country, I want values, principles. Yes, I want the truth, a leadership based on truth. I want a leadership based on honesty. I want a government institution based on efficiency. Yes, I'm going to stand against corruption, you know, no kabudus, all right, and no favoritism, no nepotism. So Lee Kuan Yew established this culture of meritocracy. He calls it meritocracy. Yes, that you have to be qualified, you know, competent. I mean, through an independent process, you have to merit this position you hold. And to fight corruption, as he said, that if you want to fight corruption, start from the top. You know, ministers, deal with them, top government officials, you know, then you send a message right across the state until the last person. So if Barrow had, in 2017, had focused on efficiency, on performance, on delivery, on, you know, transparency and accountability, and so on, we would have seen a different Gambia altogether. In 5 years, we would have transformed the face of this country in ways we cannot just imagine. But that failure to uphold values, to uphold the rule of law, to insist on performance and delivery, to insist on results, the failure to do that is the reason why, you know, people now even miss Yahya Jammeh. Because things have got so bad that, you know, if Yahya Jammeh was here, Yahya Jammeh would not do this, even though it is not true. I mean, because I hear, you know, these murderous crimes happen. And Yahya Jammeh, I said, look, Yahya Jammeh was here.
I went through Watson Gambia comments today when Watson Gambia gave a list of things that Yahya Jammeh did, and it was interesting to see what people were saying. How Yahya Jammeh is a visionary leader. Is it because of what they experienced?
It's the failure of this current moment.
Like, really?
It's sad.
Like, seriously? Is that this is our benchmark today? But why is that? Are we able to go back to the drawing board? Because the president, when he came, to be honest, everyone was excited, and we thought that was going to be the time that we could change and press the button on all the things that happened, and we have to start somewhere. Now, at this point, that, you know, I ask people, it looks like it's so nice because people come in and have all of these fantastic ideas and believes that what they can do and change the system. and then everything changes. It's scary. And I'm thinking, if I send Lamin J down with the person that I can trust with my life, is it going to be the same? Because everybody that you trust, you send there, you see the same thing. What is there? You and I have not been there. I'm sure you don't know, but are you not worried that people change? Is it the person or is it the position?
No, I think, again,
if we send you there, I hope you're not going to change yourself.
my life is beyond that part. Yes.
No, but seriously, this is scary.
Yeah. But for me, my life is beyond that. I believe that we can do it.
Okay.
I believe we are not inferior to other races. No, we go to schools with them across the world, and Gambians perform. If you look at the UN system, they'll tell you the fantastic work our people are doing there. You go to the AU, the same thing. You go to the EU, yes, exactly. So what does that tell you? The failure to organize your system. Because even our African multilateral systems like ECOWAS, like the AU itself, are based on institutions within the UN system. So they are very, very careful about a lot of things they do. Corruption is not as rampant there as it is at the state level. So at the end of the day, this is what you have to do. You have to govern yourself and do so properly and adequately. I believe, what Madi said, some people said, our generation is lost. I said, no. I believe what he said. I also believe that within 5 years, with the right government, yes, people would wonder if this is the Gambia they know.
They know.
Yeah.
Because we're very small.
Is it not a scandal that people are now missing the former president? Yeah, it is a scandal.
I mean, Madi, when Madi talked about, even though when Jami was here, you go to 8 o'clock, people are at work.
Yeah.
Today, you go to offices, you're waiting for people to come to work at 11.
Yes.
So, I mean, if people are missing him, there are certain things that he was doing right that, we are not seeing today. It's like the control.
Absolutely.
It's not there.
Yeah, and you go to work, you know that people are waiting for you. You come at 10 o'clock. The first thing you do is go have your breakfast. And then not even your managers can control you. If people talk, you get angry with them. And what are you? You are just a clerk. But the reason you are doing that is because of the culture that is prevalent in that office of yours. You know that nothing will happen to you. There will be no consequences. Yes. Look, like Obama said, we don't want strong men. We want strong institutions. But we have to start from the very top. Yes. Yeah.
And talking about that, it really infuriates me, and because the point is, it is not that we don't know.
Yeah.
No, whatever Lamin is talking about here, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can tell you, people in the cabinet ministers there, they know this as much as we know, or even more. Yes. People across the government, they know this as much as we know. Because the technocrats there, the policymakers, they know. Really, they know. So I ask myself, what do you people discuss in cabinet?
But Madi, the thing is, when you talk to these government officials, they are of the belief that they're doing right. It's not just they're playing dumb with me, right, or you. They are of the belief that they're doing very well.
No.
You talk to them.
No, Fatou.
They tell you.
Yeah, I know. They tell you, and in a way that looks very passionate and genuine,
they look so passionate
and honest about it.
And
but
am I in a different country? They're very passionate about the policies they're doing, the direction the government is doing, how the economy is working, agriculture, and all these things, especially infrastructure. They're telling you all the things that this government has done. We are not giving them credit for it. Them.
The finance minister said, our debt is sustainable. We are good. at 110 billion,
Yeah.
and I think at 75% of GDP or the budget, something like that, and said the ratio and is, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, he will. I'm sure maybe we should bring him here, and he will pontificate about and even tell you Japan, the debt to ratio of Japan is 126%. Yes, and they can even tell you America is the most indebted, the highly indebted country in the world. Yes, but of course, American loans, Japan, the loans they take, they invest them in the right place, and that is why Japan is where Japan is. Every country takes loans, so that it may not even matter, the ratio it is with GDP or whatever calculations they do. But at the end of the day, how do you utilize those loans to transform lives? And so I've said this, I think here or many other places. You go to the Ministry of Agriculture, you will find all sorts of projects. LADEP, FASDEP, JIP, Nomachoso, Roots, Giraffe, and so on and so forth. And you take 1 year and look at the grants and loans that come only to agriculture. You talk about billions of dollars. Every year, multi-billions is what comes to agriculture. Now, and we are here, insufficient in any food item you can imagine. Yes, in a land that is fertile from Banjul to Basse, cultivable, it's a flat land, and a river that crosses, the country from end to end. I mean, and everything else we have it. And you have the most educated people in the Ministry of Agriculture. I mean, they have so much funds that they can even go and build a whole new building and call it Project Management Unit. Look at the building they just built opposite Gambia High School, brand new building. With the biggest land cruisers you can imagine. But at the end of the day, I mean, you and I are eating imported rice, poor quality imported rice, not to mention all other kinds of products. So, I mean, they will say, of course, we are doing this our best and so on. But it is very obvious in the evidence, because at the end of the day, whatever you do, the evidence of it is the quality, the amount of services, goods and services we the citizens receive. So if the MD of NAWEC sits here and wants to talk us how much they are working, now the evidence of your efficiency, your effectiveness, your hard work is the amount of electricity we receive per day. So we cannot sit here, NAWEC, which also you have millions of dollars and dollars in various sorts of projects since 2017 to date, and until today you are telling us, no, we don't have a problem of generation, we have a problem of distribution. It's about transmission. Our NAWEC infrastructure is old. I have heard this story 10 years ago, 20 years ago. NAWEC talking about electricity because the lines were built since colonial times, or so we, population has increased. Not long ago, the water, they said, because the residents in I think Manjai or Bakote or Sukuta area, because the pipes that were laid at the time, and now I mean, you are a modern institution today. You don't have a department of planning, department of research. You don't have department of innovations, research and development, and so on. You come and tell us as if the people in Bakote, they moved last month was when everybody moved there. As if whoever lives in Tranquil, you should have, every day you live here 5 years, since you live here, Fatou, I'm sure you are seeing how the place is growing.
It's growing, yeah.
Now you come here and tell us here about Tranquil, the time we are laying the pipes. I mean, like as if in Tranquil, people moved here yesterday.
Yeah.
And you have a modern, a technical, a professional institution. How do institutions perform?
Yeah.
They are, you are looking at your service. Who is taking your services, paying for your services? Where are you giving your services? The population and everything. You cannot sit here and then tell us, the time we put the lines in Bakau, the population was this. So today the population of Bakau, how did the population of Bakau change? Did it change overnight? You don't do research. You don't do. I mean, what kind of management administration do you have? But this is the problem. You look at ferries. Like anyone who is running ferries in this country, if you are managing director of Gambia Ports Authority, you are the managing director of Gambia Ferry Service, I suppose you should have an office, budget office somewhere. You should have an office for research, for innovations, for everything else. So now you go to ports, one ferry is running. And what can you tell us? Yeah, the ferry got, how can the ferry get spoiled? Really, that you have to pack it.
But Madi, that is all very far. The fact that we don't even have an ID card in this country.
I mean, ID card.
If you don't have a driver's license, that is an offense to drive on the road without a driver's license.
Yeah.
Right? That is what our law says. We went for months without a driver's license.
Yeah. So these are the things,
Like, just look at, like, the state helping us to violate. That's where we are. These are the basics.
So these are the issues our president needs to deal with.
Yeah.
What standard have you set for ports? What standard have you set for NAWEC? What standard, results have you set, targets have you set for health, for agriculture, for that is the point. Now, you don't deal with that, and you want to prance on some journalists over there for saying something that, you are accusing others about.
That's what Mama Kande said. Mama Kande said.
Because you have also said other people about their succession or lack of succession.
Yes.
I mean, and those people, they did not die. I mean, they did not cry.
Yeah.
Why are you crying? What is your problem?
I know.
Really? When the real job, your real job is there, not done. And you don't deal with that.
Yeah. And tell me about the journalists. Sharif came to this country 30 years ago as a refugee from Liberia. Since then, his mother has been here all those years. He got a Gambian wife, children born Gambia. He's been in this country for 30 years. Now, during this interrogation, he's been asked about his nationality. He's been asked to bring his nationality document. And he's been going back and forth. Anytime he goes, I had this, and we reported it one time, and it came again that the pressure that he should withdraw or deportation is on the line for him, allegedly. Now, today I asked him again before coming to the show. I said, I just want to verify, are you getting threats about, are you being questioned about your nationality? And he says, yes, I was told to bring my national documents. I was told to bring my company business registration documents and all that stuff. I'm thinking, if the police want to launch an investigation on him on those things, they can do that. But is that related to what they are dealing with right now?
Well, even that one is not that simple. You said he came here as a refugee, isn't it?
30 years ago.
Yeah. So under the United Nations Convention, the 51 Convention,
51,
Yeah.
under that, there is a principle against what they call refouling. You cannot send your refugees back. You cannot. I know he's not a refugee anymore, but you cannot threaten to deport him from Gambia to Liberia again. That is not possible for the Gambia. It would be a violation of international law. Yes, even in the UK, we dealt with cases like that. Even during my stay here, there was this guy, he got refugee status, but the UK system didn't want to go ahead with it. They said that the changes have taken place in the Gambia in 2017, 2016, so he needed to come back to the Gambia. That was challenged up to the last level of the immigration system, that is the tribunal system. The Home Office tried to do that, but the court system refused. Yes, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's against international law.
Yeah.
But of course, if you don't have systems, you can use these little things to go after people, to humiliate them, to annoy them, to frighten them, and things like that. Why now, even if this story is retracted, for practical purposes, what is the significance? It has no significance.
Absolutely.
People know that there is an issue, an underlying issue, and it's a matter of public interest. Yes. So we will talk about these successions within the NPP, within other parties. Yes. These things will continue.
I mean, that is what is news for us.
Yes.
We want to know our leaders.
Yes.
We want to know what they're thinking. Who do they want to be?
Absolutely.
This is news everywhere in the world. And my problem is why NPP, I asked you the other day, or like this conversation about who is going to be the next person, like it's come to tabulum. It's scary.
And Fatou, you know, before Mr. Obama stepped down for his candidacy for the lady, you know,
Biden,
Mr. Biden in America.
For Kamala,
Right. There were a lot of speculation.
Oh my God,
You know, American media had their long conversations like this. You know, they brought issues, what the family is saying, what his lawyers, somebody's talking. I mean, they said all sorts of things, and it is normal. And but for this issue of citizenship, it touches me a lot. All right, and I think it is a very disingenuous and a very malicious thing that our police should not get into. And you know, government should not forget, the first daily newspaper in this country was set up by a Liberian man, Kenneth Best, as the Daily Observer. Only for Yajame to come and deport illegally Kenneth Best, you know, back to his country, when in fact that time Liberia was in a more terrible situation. And because you just don't want the media to play their watchdog role. And that action there is the reason today the Daily Observer is dead. Because since Jammeh kicked out that man, the Daily Observer, eventually he, through his fronts, took ownership of the Daily Observer. And the Daily Observer transformed. And that pains me a lot because, you know, Mr. Darboe, at 1994, as a young reporter myself, one of my first trainings in journalism was in the Daily Observer. Kenneth Best, I remember, brought an editor-in-chief from a North American, South Carolina in America, to come and give us training. 1 month. A bunch of us young reporters at the time were participants, you know, then Daily Observer in the hall. When we entered the hall there, we had it there with this American man. And you know, at the end of the training, everyone was given a typewriter, a portable typewriter. Yes, that certificate, I still have it. Training as a journalist. We were all given a typewriter. So, you know, a lot of the my generation journalists that came, you know, Serif Bojang and others, you know, we were all groomed, a lot of the talent skills that emerge. I mean, look at the, you know, when we talk about the Jao or Babagale Jalo and so on, you know, I mean, Daily Observer was the farm. Where all these crops emerged.
People like Dr. Ibrahim Assise.
Dr. Ibrahim Assise, yes. You know, and our state killed Daily Observer, just like that. And you go fast forward 20, you know, 30 years later, you have another Liberian who's been here for all this while and doing his work, properly employing fellow Gambians. And you don't have anything to do to ask him about his nationality. And you, the same government, which will sit over there and talk about ECOWAS of the people, Pan-African, you know, African unity and everything like that. You know? I mean, it's the height of dishonesty and, you know, I mean, malice you cannot just imagine. Huh? It's a shame.
Picking that up, you know, Madi said, forget the propaganda, look at the results. Now, you said ministers and other people would tell you how fantastically they are doing. Yes. Okay. I read on What's on Gambia yesterday, that there is only one dilapidated ambulance at Burkama.
Yeah.
And ministers and other people are running multiple cars. Multiple cars.
Yeah.
Yes. Within the same family, government sponsored. What kind of behavior is that? Yeah.
You get an official car, you get a utility car for your wife.
Yeah.
If you have two wives, you sometimes get two.
So forget the propaganda, look at the result.
I hope one day Sheriff will be able to come sit down and talk about his story, because this threat of deportation, this is not the first time it's coming up. It came up one time, allegedly he was invited by a minister and he was threatened, and now again it's coming up that they are asking him, and the fact that you are doing that, the fright you're bringing to his family, his kids, that feeling alone, is gonna get the guy to self-censor himself. And it looks like that is the agenda. And I think that is something that no government, especially this government, I remember President Barrow when he came, Alizente Karantale, Yaya Jame Karanta, Gambianol Karanta.
And that's true. William Takela.
The Karantale.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his favorite.
Yeah.
The Karantale. Yeah, Jame Karanta, Gambianol Karanta. And I see a whole different scenario now. But one thing though, Gambians have a Karanta. That's why all the things that happened in Jammeh's time cannot happen today. Today, you arrest Sheriff, we can sit here and talk about it. We can condemn you, we can say all this and issue all these statements. Yesterday we were not able to do that, and we are not going back. And I think we have learned. I hope he also holds to his, side of the...
these things, it's a matter of time, but is what you sow is what you will reap. It may take a time, a long time, in fact, and but yes, there was a time. I'm sure Yajame, in his mind, would never have thought he would go and sit down in a country called Equatorial Guinea. I'm sure even Macky Sall never thought he would. On the very day he left the office, he will board and
now he's
fly
calling through WhatsApp message to address his supporters,
yes.
just like Jammeh is doing.
And what's the fun about that? I have said it here that the greatest honor any citizen can have is to be elected or appointed into public office. That's an honor that is just just probably next going to heaven. Yeah, that your people, they have the trust and confidence in you to elect you or appoint you and put you in public office, and knowing very well this public office, you are there to make people do well. That in itself for me is worshiping. To do good and uplift people, uplift them materially, uplift them in terms of freedom, uplift them in terms of their rights, uplift them in terms of their happiness, of their comfort and their security. I think that's worshiping God for me. That is something every citizen, that is the satisfaction I would look for in public office, that by my actions and decisions, I have uplifted people. I think that should be the value, the standard, the objective, the journey for every citizen on earth, every human being on earth. How do I uplift my fellow people and not to be a liability for them? How do I make myself an asset for our people? So, ni Baroka Karanta. It's for him. Naman Karan. It's for him. Ni Gamenal Koe Karanta. It's for them. Ni Mankarang is for them. Yes, because we know our contemporary history, because we don't even need to talk about history. As Darboe said, these are contemporary affairs. We have seen it in Senegal. Yeah. A man got out of the prison there and became president. 10 days. Yeah, and the examples every day they are manifesting. And so, in one sense, yes, you will make many people, outraged and very, tormented, honestly. But you will also reap it. Yes, because there will be accountability. Yes. I mean, there should have been accountability since 2017, and they betrayed it and allowed the same dictatorship, system to continue. All right, but there will be accountability. Yeah, sooner or later there will be accountability, so that even if like you feel there's no accountability, the fact that today, even if you don't get Jammeh to court, you don't make him pay for his crimes. One thing is certain: when we want to list bad examples, we will point to him. When we say his name, we will say that he is a killer. He is one who, son of the Gambia, who betrayed the Gambia. So to carry that title itself, I don't think any citizen want to do that, especially if you hold public office.
And to exile him, when we go to exile, we at least go to other countries. But we have exiled him, the Gambian people have exiled him just to one country for almost how many years? That is the biggest punishment.
You can leave.
So you can leave, and I think that's enough example. Now, finally, these two gentlemen, they go back and forth every day, taking time off their work, and they go to the police. They have not taken them to court, they just charge them. For how long does this continue? You go to they charge, you don't go to bail, every day that report. Thank God they did not take their phones. For me, I always say now, because Madi I cannot afford to lose my phone.
It's still with them.
And this is what they do.
It's still with them. And as far as I'm concerned, the IG has stolen my phone.
Yes.
And that day also, we will deal with that when it comes. So let them keep my phone there.
The good thing about this, when they were coming, go sheriff, telephone, journalists on your telephone, but and it's scary that this is what the things we think about. I have prepared myself. Any day they call you, the first thing to do, don't go with your phone. Don't because now we are in that position again, just like we were in Jammeh time. What should they just continue going back and forth at the police? Or should they also start a legal action against the police? They can do that, right?
It's a decision they have to make. Ms. Zarif is in a more difficult situation, but Mohammed Justice Darboe's nationality is not an issue.
That's
so, But, at the end of the day, really, the system shouldn't put citizens through that kind of situation. But like I said in my article, the police, consistently refused to subject itself to the rule of law. I know some people would say the police this and that, but again, I'm not going with the propaganda. I'm just going with the evidence that is available to me. Yes. If you have a case, go to court. Don't harass people like this. We've seen former IGPs mistreated here. And we sympathize with them, notwithstanding their own irresponsible behaviors. But the way we look at it, you do these things for yourself. If you have a public space that is not accountable, you may one day fall victim to that public space, even if you are higher up within the police structure. So sometimes you have to look at your president and said, I'm sorry, I cannot do this.
Mr. President, I cannot do this?
Of course. You have to equip yourself and get ready to leave outside your
That's not the way a lot of us think.
Well, some people have that independence. A lot of police officers who are coming up now would have that independence. They are barristers, so they have the opportunity to leave the police and go set up something for themselves. So some of the old hands, or most of the old hands, would have nothing to do for themselves. So they'll have to continue. But the police itself would ultimately change, I believe. A lot of people are now getting higher education. They'll have alternative abilities to live outside the state system. But if you are 100% dependent on the state system, then it is a problem. Yeah, it is a problem. We shouldn't do that to our citizens. Yeah, we need a government that would allow citizens to act within civility, but promote their own rights and follow their conscience. It's very important. Yeah.
Madi, finally, what's your message, especially to Justice Darboe and Sheriff? I know they're going through a very tough time handling this with their work,
Well, I mean, one can only tell them to stay resolute, keep their spirits high. I mean, this is not normal. It should not happen because the work they do is protected by the Constitution, is guaranteed by the Constitution, and they are doing a national service. It's an invaluable national service. So normally this should not happen. But yes, unfortunately, this has become a reality from a long time ago until now. So that is not pleasant at all. But to the rest of it, I mean, what I would say after expressing, my outrage and disappointment that the change we, expected, envisaged in 2017 did not happen in the way, it should. But to advise the government, really, and the president in particular, to look at his value system, yes, to review his own worldview, his perspective about life, about leadership, about the position he holds. And sometimes to say these things, you wonder, because in our culture, we have said these things that, Aduna Amut Solo, at the end of the day, you can lie down only on one bed. There are many seats here, but I can only, even this big seat, I can only sit at this corner at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have many compounds, but you'll be in one compound at one time. And how much money do you want to accumulate? Really, you cannot. I mean, the Queen of England lived for 99 years. I mean, if you consider that is a position that probably is the best life one could live. I mean, so it raises the question, therefore, what is your mission? What do you consider or understand to be your mission in life, even if you are not a president?
Yes.
Yes. Fatou, at a personal level, I tell people I'm happy. Yes. And when I work, I hold my head up high. I'm not afraid that somebody is going to call me, Madi, where's my glasses? You took this thing from me. I'm not worried. Somebody say, Madi, Madi, you said this here or there, or Madi, you did this there or there. No, because I try to the best of my ability for values to guide me, for my conscience to guide me. Yes. Yeah. I don't want 10 compounds. No. I don't want $10 million. No. I mean, I want to live, a healthy life, a happy life, or, a satisfied life. And I'm accomplished, yes. Yeah. So, yes, somebody, of course, can go and accumulate 1 million, 10 million, which is not a crime if you get it in the right way, it's fine. But I'm not going to kill a rat, even a rat, just to get $1 million. Really, much more torment fellow human beings, really. Take things. I mean, the president, as we talk right now, they gave him land that is illegal. And you want to build that, and you are already the president. And we are paying you $3 million per month. Putting you in the best home in the Gambia. all right? And when you retire, you made the National Assembly pass a law, for ex-presidents, that when you even leave the presidency today, the benefits you enjoy practically put you, by government standard, in heaven. So you as a president, ask yourself, really, what is my mission? What do I want to achieve? What am I fighting for? Who am I competing with in this country? At the end of the day, when in my motorcade, I leave State House, everybody leaves the way for me. How does that teach you, really? That, when I go to the National Assembly, they put down a special seat for me. Everybody sits, I come, they all get up and allow me to stand up, and until I sit down, what does that teach you?
You are the most special person in this
Yeah. When you have all of that, what more do you want?
Yeah.
What more do you want? Really? But at the end of the day, you are just going to die, like you and me, like everyone else, and then we will put you, in the earth, like, 7 meters of white cloth, and that is it. You will leave all those things. So I think you ask yourself, what is my mission in life? And that goes for all these public officials, these top officials who are, greedily, clamoring, fighting over vehicles. I mean, you want a vehicle, they give you a vehicle. You want a fridge in your office, to furnish your office, and, want to travel, they give you. At the end of the day, ask yourself, honestly, am I giving that much back to the Gambian people? Be honest with yourself. So I challenge all public officials, be honest with yourself. You think I once told National Assembly members, I said, you pass, if you go to National Assembly at that corner with opposite Gambia High School, some women sit there selling Gertesaf.
Yeah.
Mboha, and those little things for the girls, school boys and girls to buy. I told National Assembly, that woman sitting there is why you are in this house. Do you know how much we are spending in maintaining the electricity in the National Assembly? In maintaining the flowers in the National Assembly? In maintaining the water supply in the National Assembly? Not to mention your allowances, your salaries, and vehicles and everything else. But every year you pass these women there. 5 years. Within 1 month, you come to the National Assembly, you are given a brand new vehicle for these women. You pass these women going up and going out. 5 years, you leave them there. You've never had, but my decisions, because you distribute the national resources of this country. Have you distributed to make sure that resources, public resources, reaches these women? They're still sitting there. I know of women, you go to in front of Gambia, LK school. There's an old woman there selling Gertesaf. LK school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I was in school, this old woman it was selling groundnuts, And if you have a minister passing that woman every day, do you think about that? That, this vehicle, 12 million I'm driving, is from this Gertesaf woman here, who's been selling Gertesaf for 30 years, not in less than 30 years, and still selling Gertesaf. I've bought Gertesaf from her on and on and on. I know people who would call from UK, from, but at the end of the day, you as public officials, ask yourself, or be honest to yourself, what I'm eating, literally, is it halal wealth? Is it halal? Because also you believe you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you believe in God. Yeah. Ask yourself, what am I enjoying? Is this halal? So our public officials need to think deeply. Yeah. Really, what is your mission in life? Yeah. Because by your actions or decisions is why this country is like this. So you are the ones who can change this country for the better or for worse. So for me, this is all I got to say.
This is deep, and it's for all of us, for everything that you do, you think of the aftermath of all of this. Yeah. I remember when we had that candidate, my favorite candidate from West Coast region during the chairmanship.
Hereafter, Mr.
Hereafter. And this keeps coming. He says if people are not thinking about the hereafter, they will not go do right today. And this is the truth. If you are just fixation about what you amass, the wealth you get today, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're going to leave all of that here anyway and go. It's thank you so much, gentlemen. It's always interesting to have you guys on the show. Someone said this is very educative, but it's interesting to have these conversations, and I hope they learn from some of these things that we're saying. I hope the president, if he doesn't listen to me and Madi, because he will not, but to listen to Mr. Darboe here, because everybody knows how independent Mr. Darboe
Absolutely,
is. So I just hope they listen and do right by the Gambian people, because a lot of people are suffering. Food is expensive. Our living conditions are way higher today than they were tomorrow. And when the minister says we're doing well, I said, we can only gauge that by ourselves. If I'm not doing well, there's no media communication that you can do to convince me that I'm doing well. I'm not doing well. My neighbor, I see them, he or she is not doing well. So you cannot tell me the economy is doing well when the Gambian people are not able to have 3 square meal, when the electricity is expensive and not available, when we cannot have ID cards, when our CFA and dollar are skyrocketing every single day. Today, the dollar is 70. The euro is 75 or something. The pound is 80 something. You cannot tell me that the economy is doing well when all the factors that lead to that are just going bad. So I think government, should just look at the people and understand their level and our level is different. They need to come to our level to understand what the people are going through. If you do that, at some point, you'll also understand the reality on the ground.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming. It's always interesting to you guys to have you guys here. And we hope the government drop all charges against the Voice newspaper chief editor-in-chief and Justice Darboe.
If they don't drop it, if they go to court, we'll sit on the front row of the court.
Yes.
To solidarize with Momodou Justice Darboe and Musa. That one we can guarantee.
That we can guarantee. We will all be there to show solidarity.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much once again.
Thank you
guys.
Fatou.
Until we come again next Thursday. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are happy to announce the launch of our new logo. We have evolved since our incorporation in 1997, and it is time to refresh our new look to reflect who we are today. Before I reveal our new look, however, walk with me while I take you through our journey of the last 25 years. Trust Bank was incorporated on July 3rd, 1997 and began operations on October 1st, 1997. Following the collapse of the parent company of its predecessor, Meridian, the CBG stepped in and recapitalized the bank and held the shares in trust, thus the name Trust Bank. In 1999, So, we remain true to who we have always been. As we look forward to greater achievements, we are rebranding to reflect who we are today and the future that we inspire. Our new logo has been designed to visually demonstrate our Gambian heritage and the sophisticated nature of the bank. We are moving away from the navy and gold-colored parallelogram-shaped logo to our baobab tree with a rising sun in the background. The striking outline of a baobab tree at sunrise is a familiar sight to anyone who has spent time in the Gambia. Our new logo and visual identity are inspired by our core values and spirit of being a pioneer in providing a unique banking experience. It is a completely new look that better matches the transformation we have made as a company. But we remain your trust bank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to present to you our new logo and corporate identity.